Hello there, list of viewers. Ever look around your home or just, exist in the modern world and think, boy, everything here is just so innocent? Well, prepare to have your preconceptions shattered like a medieval window pane. Today, we're diving into the surprisingly macabre, the unintentionally chilling, and the downright disturbing origins of everyday items you probably never gave a second thought to, because sometimes the most mundane things have a past so dark, it makes your morning coffee look like a glass of sunshine. Ready to have your childhood memories, fashion choices, and even your dental hygiene rituals tainted forever? Good. Let's get started. First up, we're talking about something you probably sang as a child, completely unaware you were basically performing a funeral dirge. Nursery Rhymes. Yes, those sweet, simple tunes meant to lull children to sleep or teach them about farm animals. Take Ring Around the Rosie, for example. Adorable, right? A circle of kids, a little dance, everyone falls down. So wholesome. Except, it's almost certainly about the Great Plague. Ring around the rosy. That's the rash, often red and circular. That was a symptom. A pocket full of posies. People stuffed flowers in their pockets, believing it would ward off the disease or mask the smell of the dying. Ashes, ashes. Well, what do you do with bodies after a plague? Burn them. And we all fall down? Self-explanatory, really. Millions died. Suddenly, playing that game feels less like a fun afternoon and more like a historical reenactment of mass death. You're basically dancing on graves, kids. And let's not even get started on London bridges falling down, which, depending on the version, might involve human sacrifice to strengthen foundations. Sleep tight. Next, something you see outside barber shops and often mistake for a giant candy cane, the barber pole. You know, the red, white, and blue spiraling cylinder? Pure Americana, right? Or just a quaint, old-timey sign? Wrong. Utterly, disturbingly wrong. Before the days of precision scalpels and antiseptic, barbers weren't just giving you a trim and a shave. Oh no, they were also the local surgeons and dentists. Their services included bloodletting, a common medical practice where you drained a patient's blood to balance their humors. Nice. The red on the pole, that's the blood. The white, that's the bandages. And the pole itself? That was what the patient gripped during the procedure, or where dirty, blood-soaked bandages were hung to dry in the wind. Yes, hanging out there for all to see. The blue, by the way, was added later, likely in America, to reflect the flag. So next time you see one, just remember it's not advertising a clean cut. It's a terrifying historical relic of a time when getting a haircut might also mean losing a pint of blood. And your tooth? From surgical horror to sartorial splendor, let's talk about high heels. Today, they're a fashion statement, elegant, empowering, sometimes pure torture for your feet. But their origins are far from the catwalk. Early high heels were practical, and worn by men, Persian cavalry riders used them to keep their feet stable in stirrups, giving them better leverage to shoot their bows. Great for equestrian warfare, not so much for a night out. They eventually made their way to Europe, arriving with Persian delegates in the 17th century. European aristocrats, men mostly, adopted them to appear taller and more imposing. King Louis XIV of France famously wore heels, sometimes up to 4 inches high, and only allowed his inner circle to wear red heels. Talk about exclusive! But here's where it gets a little dark for women. In the 17th and 18th centuries, high heels became associated with the courtesan class, essentially high-end sex workers. Why? They made women appear more desirable, exaggerated their curves, and yes, made them stand out, literally, in a crowd. So while today they're a symbol of feminine power, for a long time their association was less glamorous. Just something to ponder next time you're wobbling home after a long night. And speaking of things that bind us, how about engagement rings? The ultimate symbol of eternal love and commitment, a sparkling promise of a future together. Or, if you trace it back far enough, a symbol of ownership and a literal down payment. The tradition of giving a ring can be traced back to ancient Rome. But it wasn't exactly about romance. A simple iron ring was given to a woman to symbolize a man's ownership over her. It was a legal bond, essentially a receipt for a transfer of property. The ring was worn on the fourth finger of the left hand because ancient Egyptians believed that finger contained the vena amoris, or vein of love, which led directly to the heart. So, a a tiny bit of romance, but mostly transactional. Later, in the Middle Ages, the ring became more of a practical binder. It was a promise of marriage, and if the man broke it, the woman had legal recourse. The diamond, by the way, only became popular in the 15th century, when Archduke Maximilian of Austria gave one to Mary of Burgundy, mostly because diamonds were rare and expensive, and therefore a good way to show off wealth. So, while today it signifies love and devotion, historically it was more like, you're mine now, and here's a shiny object to prove I can afford you. Cheers to enduring traditions. Alright, one last chilling origin story before you go question everything you thought you knew. Let's talk about something incredibly innocent. The lollipop. Sweet, colorful, a simple joy for kids everywhere, right? Wrong. While the concept of a treat on a stick has ancient roots, one particularly dark origin story links the lollipop to a horrific period in human history, the Congo Free State under King Leopold II of Belgium. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Leopold's regime brutally exploited the Congolese people for rubber resources. If a village didn't meet its quota, or if a soldier wasted a bullet, they would often be punished by having hands cut off. These severed hands were presented as proof of justice or punishment, and some accounts suggest that these severed hands were occasionally presented to European officers, impaled on sticks, much like a macabre, gruesome lollipop. The term lollipop itself comes from lolly, tongue, and pop, slap. But the image of a hand on a stick is deeply disturbing. It's a stark reminder that even the simplest joys can sometimes echo the darkest corners of human history. And there you have it, folks. 5 everyday items, each with a backstory that makes you want to crawl under a rock and rethink human existence. From plague anthems to blood-soaked barber poles, from cavalry battle gear to symbols of ownership, and finally, to the chilling image of a lollipop that was anything but sweet. So, the next time you're singing a nursery rhyme or admiring an engagement ring, just remember, sometimes ignorance truly is bliss. But hey, now you're informed and slightly traumatized. You're welcome. If you enjoyed this descent into the surprisingly dark, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to List Of for more mind-bending facts, and tell us in the comments which everyday item you'd like us to dig into next. Maybe we can uncover some more historical horrors together. Thanks for watching, and try not to think about the origins of your socks too much. You never know.